Welcome to Self-Awareness Assessments e-course number 1. My name is Susie Price, and today I'll be helping you understand your TTI Success Insights Behaviors and Motivators assessment results. This e-course covers Report Section 1, which is the part of the assessment that provides feedback and insight about your behaviors and communication style. You'll want to make sure that you've printed out your assessment and have your results in front of you while viewing this e-course, because we'll be referring to your report throughout. This class is designed to make sure that you understand each part of the behavior section of your report. There's a lot of really good material here, and I want to make sure you have enough information and understanding so that you can use your reports to increase self-awareness and motivation. I want you to be able to name and claim your communication style strengths and be aware of any development opportunities you might have. By becoming more aware of how our behaviors affect others, we can improve our own motivation and strengthen our ability to effectively communicate with others. This tool has been very beneficial to me. It's helped me become less judgmental about others' differences and has increased my ability to appreciate how those differences make each person special and valuable. It's my desire that these assessment results make a positive difference for you as well. I want to provide a perspective on these assessments because different aspects of who you are being measured in this report. And it's important to understand that no one report can accurately assess you in total. Assessments are just a tool for deepening understanding, but they are not the authority on you. Having said that, I've worked with numerous different types of assessments over 7 or 8 years, and I found the most value from these reports that we're using here today, the DISC and Workplace Motivators. I like them because there's high level of scientific validation around the assessments, and they're pretty easy to understand, and you can actually use them to have them make a difference in your life. So I like to use the analogy of a buoy to explain what each assessment measures. The buoy, what you can see, represents the behavior section of your assessment. This part of the report is shedding insight into how you communicate, your style, your usual approach to people, problems, pace, and procedures, how you do what you do. It's observable and adaptable. The chain is something you can't see. It's underneath the buoy and under the water. Can't easily see it, but it represents the motivator section of your assessment. This area drives your action and is why you do what you do. Motivators are based on your values and interests, and they share what you personally care about. Understanding this area is crucial to understanding what motivates you. And lastly, deep beneath the sea, anchoring all of your behaviors and motivators, are your core talents and skills. This area is shaped by your education, experience, intelligence, and your sense of self. The assessment used to measure this area is the Personal Talent and Skills Inventory Assessment. It is not part of what we're working on here in this e-course, but I want you to be aware of it because it is available if you have interest later on. And it is important because the anchor does influence how well you adapt your style and your behaviors and how well you apply your motivators. So it does have impact. In this e-course, we're going to focus on the very first piece, which is the buoy, the behaviors, what other people see, how you do what you do. The second e-course will review how to understand your motivators, or the chain part of this analogy. Now let's do a quick exercise. Look at the two lists here. Think about how you prefer to act most of the time. Do you prefer the thoughtful list, moderate paced, calm, methodical, and careful? Does that sound like you most of the time? Or do you prefer the active list, fast-paced, assertive, dynamic, and bold? Does that list sound more like you? I know it's hard to pick one, but look at the list now and pick the list that is most like you. Mentally make a note of the group you joined. Have you got it? Okay, now here's a second list. You get to pick again. 2 different sets of words. Are you more accepting, people-focused, empathizing, receptive, and agreeable? Or would you describe yourself as more questioning, logic-focused, objective, skeptical, and challenging? Again, I know it's hard, but choose the group that's most like you most of the time. Make a mental note of which group you joined this time. Each list of preferences combines to make up the DISC profile, the buoy part of our analogy, your behaviors and how you communicate. If you chose questioning and active, you might have high D or dominance preferences. If you chose active and accepting, you might have high I or influence preferences. If you chose accepting and thoughtful, you might have high S or steadiness preferences. And lastly, if you chose thoughtful and questioning, you might have high C or compliance preferences. Each corner represents a set of communication style descriptors. D for dominance, I for influence, S for steadiness, and C for compliance. This is the DISC assessment. It's very popular. It's been used by over 40 million people. It provides a common language, non-judgmental language for discussing style preferences and helps us better understand how our style can impact others. Now let's look at the DISC model in more detail. The high D, top right, is made up of the questioning and active descriptors, and it represents someone who stands for the word dominance. Very direct and results-oriented in their style. They really want control and challenge of projects and programs, likes to be in charge, tends to be very extroverted, so they talk to think. And something that will stress out someone with high D tendencies more than other people is when they lose control of a situation. Okay, now let's go to the next section, which is the high I, the active and accepting. I stands for influence, and what you'll see with this style is they tend to be very expressive and relationship oriented. They most thrive when they can have interaction and expression. They are also more extroverted in their style, which means they talk to think. And something that will stress out a high I more than other people will be this idea or feeling that they might be rejected by the people they love to interact with. The next group is the high S group, which is the accepting and thoughtful, stands for steadiness. These folks tend to be more supportive and cooperative in their style and their approach. They thrive when they have harmony and stability. This group tends to be a little bit more introverted. They will think before they talk. And what can be the biggest stress for someone with high S or steadiness tendencies is change. Lastly, your thoughtful and questioning group, which is the high C group. Compliance is what high C stands for, and this is someone who tends to be analytical and deliberative in their approach. They most want accuracy. They want things to be right. And they're very stressed out because of this high focus of accuracy when they are criticized for their work. That is the DISC model. Now let's look at some famous people within the DISC styles here and see if we can see the similarities in style for each. Under the high D, we see some folks who are very direct, assertive. They like control. They show and express anger. They like to get it done and are very action-oriented. Now when we look at the high I styles, we see a group of people that we know who are with the influencers, very talkative, very expressive, tend to be very warm and approachable, and express optimism often. The high S styles, you see folks who are known for their warmth and kindness. They're very easy, a little bit more laid back. They're the harmony makers, people who focus on family and getting along as a team and loyalty. Lastly, our high C styles, we see some similarities there. People who are objective, neat, analytical, and tend to be fact finders. Now, let's go check out your style. Open your report now. What you'll want to do is go to page 22. You may have a different page because they go up and down depending on everybody's information is different. But look for this graph. Do you have it in front of you now? You'll see two graphs actually. Within each graph you can see the DISC letters across the top. D, I, S, C. You can also see numbers 0 to 100. Notice that the midpoint is 50. That line is a little bit more bolded there. Now, I want you to go to your natural style graph on your right, and I want you to circle it. This is your preferred style. If you had your choice, you prefer to act and behave in this manner. It's a style that is most natural and comfortable to you. Under stress, you will go to this style. All the areas that are above the 50 are considered high areas. So, for example, this is my report. What areas are above 50 for me? You'll see that the D and I are above 50, and in fact, there are very strong tendencies for me, which you can see that by the fact that they go all the way up to 100. So I would say, if I was talking DISC style with you, I would say I'm a high D and a high I. What area is above the 50 point for you? The highest area is considered your primary style. And so it'll be this style or some of the tendencies that you'll do the most usually. And then the second highest is your secondary style. And if you have another area above 50, that would also play a part in your approach and your style and how you communicate and how other people see you. So I want to make a note here. This is not a contest. It is not better or worse if your style is high or low. It just is what it is. It's just some insight into your preferences, how others may see you, some of your strengths, some things that motivate or demotivate you. So it's important that you're just aware of it. Don't see it as good, bad, or ugly. It's just what it is. And then what you have to do is how you use your style is what makes a difference. And having this awareness will help you be more effective in using your style and how you approach people. Let's talk about the adapted style real quick. This is how you adapt your behaviors, and it can change over time. The natural style tends to stay the same. And as you look at my results, you can see I'm adapting my high D quite a bit. You can see my natural D is 100, but my adapted is 55. And they say if there's a 20-point difference between your natural and adapted, it could represent or be the cause of some stress in your life. So for me, I would tend to want to be very dominant and assertive in conversations, but at work, I tend to pull back my D style. So I didn't know this until I actually saw my report, and it is something that I focus on and I'm paying attention to. And you'll want to do the same. There'll be more in this report around adapting and give you some insight around that here in the next shortly. Now go to page 12. This page mirrors your natural graph. Again, this example here is from my report. See how the colored portions are to the top for the D and the I, and the same going down at the bottom for the S and the C? Those represent how I scored on my natural graph. If you look at the descriptors for the D style, you see starting at the bottom, it describes preferences and behaviors of someone with a low D style. Those descriptors are unobtrusive, peaceful, modest, agreeable, mild. All are descriptors that are opposite of a high D style. As you move up the list, you'll see how the intensity around the descriptors changes, and it gets more like what we talked about when we were describing the high D style. You want to use this page to get a better understanding of what the report is saying about your strengths and development opportunities. For example, for me, this page sheds some insight into my strengths. My strong-willed focus and my optimism are good. Those are things I can use to my benefit. I can also better understand that I thrive on variety and that I get restless if I don't have enough action going on. I also thrive on being independent. So that's important to know. Those are all strengths I want to be aware of and interests that are crucial or important to my motivation. Now for development opportunities, I can see that I can be too demanding, too expressive, and sometimes not cover all the bases as thoroughly as needed. So with this awareness, I can cover the bases. I can put myself in situations that ensure that I get to use my strengths because those are areas that are natural to me and are talents that I bring to the table. But I can at the same time be more aware when I'm going to need additional assistance or when I should adapt my style to ensure more success. So what about you? What do you see here? Do you see strengths that you are not aware of? Development opportunities that could help you? Good. Now, let's look at some other areas of your report. Now, flip again in your report towards the back. It's for my report, it's on page 24. Your page number may be a little different. This is the disc wheel. This is just another visual to help you understand your style, and it's comprised of the two graphs we first saw together, your natural and adapted style. If you look at the wheel and you go around the wheel, top right, you see the D, the I, the S, and the C. This wheel shows how your different style preferences intersect. The circle, the little dot there on your wheel, represents your natural style as it intersects with other styles. And then the star represents your adapted style. Find your circle and star now. The further out you are on the wheel, the stronger the tendency and preferences tend to be. If you remember on my report, my D and I tendency was really strong. So you can see on the outside there, you can see where my circle is, which is my natural style. So it's harder for me to adapt sometimes. I have to make much more effort and focus to do that because those tendencies are so strong. Now, if your circle is located closer in, you'll see that your style is less obvious to others. So say you were at section number 46. If you find that on the wheel there, others would have a harder time reading your style, and you will have an easier time adapting. It's easy for you to go into and understand other styles naturally. So that's some of the gifts that you bring to the table. So remember that one style is not better than the other. It all depends on your awareness and your ability to flex and adapt your approach to meet each situation and each person's needs. If there's a large gap between your natural and adapted styles, again, here's another visual for you to look at it. You have to put meaning to it, but it could represent stress in your life if you're having to work far outside your comfort zone. Now here's the wheel with more details about each section. Pause this video and take a look at where your natural circle and star are located on your report. Something of interest to note here that I want to just talk about for a second is look at the differences when people are on opposite ends of the wheel. For example, the D style versus the S style. The D style tends to be very competitive, confrontational, direct. You can see the list there. The S style tends to be very accommodating, dislikes confrontation, can be very persistent. So you can see where if you're opposite ends of the style wheel, you can tend to have a little bit of extra friction because your preferences are very different or opposite. Same goes for the I and the C. Opposite sides of the wheel tend to make it a little harder to initially get along. But if you're smart and you figure out how to appreciate the other person's differences, opposite styles can really thrive and get really great results together by having each person complement and support each other by using your strengths and then adapting to each other through understanding and appreciation. So great information on the wheel. Now let's look at some other areas of your report. If you go to page 9 in your report, at the top you'll see a page called Communication Tips. This page has 4 boxes, and each box contains style descriptors, 3 communication tips, and 3 signs of tension. So I want you to look at that page now, and with a pen in hand, I want you to make a note of what each box represents for each style. The top right box is the D style, dominance, so make a note D next to that. The bottom right box is the I style. The bottom left box is the S style, and the top left box is the C style. I want you to use this page plus the second PDF color-coded memory jogger card that you received when you received your assessment results in your email. Use both of these documents to help you understand your style and help you better adapt to others. These are 2 really good reference sheets that you can reference and use as jogger cards to apply to different situations as you're interacting with others. Another part of the report that will probably make some more sense to you now is the natural and adaptive comparisons found on page 13. This part of the report provides verbiage specific to you around your natural and adapted approach to problems, pace, people, and procedures. This part of the report can help you determine if the differences between your natural and adapted approach is causing additional stress for you. So you can get more insights around that area within those pages. Now let's talk about next steps. We've gone through key aspects of your report. What I'd recommend now is that you reread your report. Check all the areas that you really agree with. Put an X by the things you don't agree with, and put a question mark by the areas that you're not sure about. Ask someone you know and trust to give you feedback about the areas you've marked. Sometimes the things you disagreed with simply are not true for you. But sometimes those areas are simply blind spots, things you aren't aware of or haven't realized yet. Use this additional feedback from someone you trust to help you gain new insights around areas that could be potential blind spots. In the report, you'll find personal and professional worksheets on pages 18 and 19. Use these worksheets to take some time to list your strengths and your development opportunities. Also, think about the impact of making some of the changes to leveraging your strengths and covering some of the development gaps. What would the impact be? How would you benefit? And lastly, set a date with yourself to review how you're doing. Personally, I know I've reread my report many times since the first time I took it. And each time I read it, I see something new that I didn't understand or quite grasp from the time before. And I also use the communication tips and memory jogger card to change my approach and deepen my understanding of all the people in my world, including myself. So as we wrap up here, the objectives for this e-course were to help you understand your results so you can use them to improve your own motivation, and in addition, improve how you communicate with others. The next e-course will help you understand Section 2, Motivators. Additional programs will go deeper into how to use this information in your career, on your team, and within your family. Additional DISC assessments, wheel posters, team workshops, and training DISC certification and workplace motivator certification for trainers is available. You can contact me via this email address or call me at 770-578-6976. Thanks for watching. I look forward to connecting with you again at our next e-course. This is Susie Price of Priceless Professional Development, where my vision is a world of employees who wake up eager. Take care.